What gives me hope is that just like many other religions, Christianity will one day be referred to as mythology.
Okay, so this statement just collapses.
This one's going to take a little while. First of all, I have zero doubt that Christina can handle herself. Her account is amazing. Her journey is amazing. Go follow her.
Okay, so this statement just collapses the moment you examine, well, anything. If it was going to be a myth, that means there's no identifiable founders, no real dates, no historical crucifixions, no confirmed archaeological locations, no eyewitness-based documents. Christianity's got all of those. It was based on a historical figure, Jesus of Nazareth, crucified under a datable Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, in a traceable city, Jerusalem, with archaeological confirmation of first-century Christian worship and with multiple independent sources from Christian, Jewish, and Roman. No historian at any major university, whether it's atheist, agnostic, secular, or Christian, treats Christianity as mythology. Not Bart Ehrman, not Paula Fredrickson, not Giza Vermes, not E.P. Sanders, not Jurg Lumen. These are all non-Christian scholars who say Jesus existed and was crucified, and Christianity began with the belief that he rose. Mythology is what you call a belief system when you have data. Christianity is what you get when you have too much data.
First of all, you are not understanding what mythology means. Mythology does not mean something is ahistorical. It is a genre. It is how cultures have historically encoded meaning into their lives, have explained the cosmos. And it's always built up on historical fact. Because if any historical links is how you define something being true, then the Trojan War actually happened, which most scholars believe it did happen. However, Achilles, described in the Iliad, is still mythology, just like Jesus Christ in Christianity is a mythological character. And all of the scholars that you mentioned, yes, they agree that Jesus was a real person. Jesus of Nazareth, they believe, was a real person, but none of them say that he was in fact the Son of God, this divine being. You quickly slip over that when you say they all believe he was a real person, and Christianity happened after people believed he was risen, not he was risen. Historical people also claim that Julius Caesar was a divine being, or Alexander the Great. We can verify their geography, we can verify their existence. Does that make them divine? What about Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome? We have the geography. What about King Arthur? Very good mythology. Also tied to a very likely historical figure. You see, what mythology really is a sacred narrative, not a fake story. I have another video defining mythology, its root, and its etymology. If you'd like to go check that out, I think you need to. Also, all archaeology does is confirm worship, not the actual theology. Because if it confirmed the theology, then Hecate is real, Osiris is real, Isis is real. You see what I'm saying? When you say mythology is a belief system, when you have no data, and Christianity is a belief system when you have too much data, it's ridiculous. It's bad rhetoric, because mythology often has even more data than Christianity. Christianity literally emerged in a myth heavy world. So it's not really crazy that it's also mythology. So you're not even responding to her claim that one day she hopes that people see Christianity for what it is, as a mythology. You conflated her argument, and it's a complete straw man argument, because I know you love the rhetoric terms. Didn't get those from ChatGPT, did you? You're responding to her as if she said that Jesus never existed and Christianity is fake. That is not what she said, and you know that.
People who believed in that religion, who believed in this place called hell, and that people were born evil. So silly, those people.
So you're confusing disliking a doctrine with disproving a religion. Just because you don't like hell, sin, and judgment doesn't mean they don't exist, and your wishful thinking for them to go away is not going to make them go away. You're not making an argument here. You're expressing a feeling which amounts to nothing more than, well, I don't like the Christian worldview, so I want to treat it like a mythology. That's non sequitur. It's an argument from an emotion. It's an argument from incredulity. It's both scientifically and historically irrelevant. Truth isn't determined based on comfort level.
Again, you're arguing against a claim she did not make. She did not say that she doesn't like hell. She says that based on the text and based on the theology, she doesn't believe that hell is real. Why you're spending minutes arguing a point she didn't make, I don't know. It's incredulity, not incredulity, just saying. And one point you're missing is that you don't need to disprove an entire religion just to reject a part of the doctrine. And the fact of the matter is that hell is not a static part of the doctrine. In the framework of Christianity, it's a patchwork of ideas, like Sheol from Judaism, and Gehenna from, which was a valley. It was a place, a valley. Hades is mentioned in the Bible, the god of the Greek underworld. Never clearly articulated by Jesus, and it doesn't exist at all in the Hebrew text. The fact that you're trying to make an argument with her, saying that her rejection of hell is a feeling, it's an emotion, based projection, is so ironic, because that is exactly what you're doing. Because of all things in Christianity, what is the most terrifying? Hell. Accusing someone of being emotional for rejecting it is kind of hilarious.
we're gonna keep evolving, we're gonna keep progressing, and that gives me hope.
So that's actually a 19th century prediction that already failed. Auguste Comte said it, Freud said it, Marx said it, Nietzsche said it, H.G. Wells said it. Every single one of them predicted religion would die in the 20th century. But do you want to know what actually happened? Christianity exploded in South America, Africa, China, South Korea, and it grew fastest in Iran. Yes, Iran. But do you want to know what else happened? Well, according to Pew Research, atheism declined globally. The world isn't progressing into atheism, it's returning to belief. So your claim that we're going to keep evolving and we'll outgrow religion is a dead prediction.
I'm just curious, have you ever read Nietzsche? Because he did not predict that Christianity would decline or be erased. He's very critical of religion and Christianity and the dogma, but he said God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. And I believe that. If God, in the Christian sense, ever existed, the Christians have killed him. None of that was a prediction. It was a lament. It was a warning. So as far as Comte, Nietzsche, Marx, and Freud go, they did not have one single ideology on religion. You can't lump them together like a loaded gun. Freud's critique was psychological, not demographic. Marx thought religion would just fade. It's also important to point out that growth does not equal truth. Your Pew Research, for example, that says that atheism is on the decline and belief is growing, you did not specifically say what belief, did you? Because many people have been returning to spiritual practices outside of Christianity. Islam has grown alongside Christianity. Religious growth in the countries you named may not have anything to do with, oh, I don't know, colonialism, political instability, economic stress, churches going on missions, building schools and digging wells. If you worship our God, it could have nothing to do with that, right? There's a saying that Poe said that no Indian prince in Egypt ever had more followers than the thief at the gallows. And what he's saying is that popularity does not equate truth. And a spectacle draws a crowd. So you're flipping the argument doesn't make sense either. Darwinism is scientific. Atheism is a lack of belief. Materialism has nothing to do with myths, legends, or worship. And secular humanism doesn't hinge on any spiritual claims. Theology itself involves sacred stories, divine beings, explanation within a cosmic narrative, and ritual authority, which Christianity has, which Hellenism has, which any of the ancient Egyptian religions have, which all of the religions have, really. You say mythology began with stories and Christianity began with an empty tomb is proving that it's mythology, because all of the historical evidence that we have proves a person, just like King Arthur, just like Julius Caesar, just like Alexander the Great, but none of it proves an empty tomb. If followers and endurance is your evidence, then I would argue that Greek mythology also has the same weight, because that was worshipped for thousands of years. Christianity can grow and inspire people and gain followers, but that does not change the fact that it fits absolutely into the definition of mythology. They are trying to discredit Christina as she shares her deconstruction journey. All she's doing is articulating the conclusion of her deconstruction. You're the one still trapped in the true versus false binary. Meanwhile, she's approaching it objectively and authentically through her own experience and her own education. She's just discussing the mythology of Christianity versus the literal fact claim. And in doing that, she has already won the argument. You're arguing on a playing field that is completely shifted and then using straw man arguments to try and confuse and invalidate everything she says. I would also argue that a man, a white man, with spiritual authority as a pastor, using a young woman in her moments of deconstruction as content shows us that you're not trying to engage with equal footing. You're not trying to have an open dialogue, just trying to perform dominance, which is pretty on par with Christianity. She is not a prop for your apologetics show. Her journey is not your teachable moment. You shouldn't be weaponizing her vulnerability and her honesty. And when you're trying to make your performance look reasonable and logical, and then accusing her of acting on and thinking on emotion, really it's your argument that is based on and fueled by your emotion. And it's simply because what we've seen for centuries in the Christian church, where white men with institutional power try to define what counts as rational. So you're not ministering, you're not pastoring, you're not teaching, you're clout chasing off of a young woman. Ew. Go stitch Dan McClellan, I dare you. I just had to come back from editing down that video because I noticed one more thing. You didn't tag her. You stitched her, commented to her, and did not tag her. I also saw the first video of hers that you've commented on. So if you have something to educate on, if you have something to teach, do that. Quit stitching young women to try and talk over them.